There's just something so charming about the visuals from cartoony games from the 6th generation of consoles when done right. Spyro, Banjo, Conker, Crash, Kirby, all of these games, despite having very dated visuals, have a strong charm that high-poly games just don't. I guess it's similar to 8-bit or 16-bit games, how those games only look the way they did due to hardware restrictions, but we still brought back that style because we just liked how the way it looks. Unfortunately, this isn't nearly as common with low-poly games. I mean, it is a thing, but I can't think of many examples of games really bringing it back. Most of the time, it's just an alternate costume in an otherwise high-poly game. And don't get me wrong, that's still really cool, but I want more games to just look like this again. But again, there are some exceptions. While it may not be a full game, a fun one is Macbat64. Macbat64 is a very short 3D platformer created by Marcus Horn. From the visuals alone, it's pretty dang clear that this whole game is supposed to be a love letter to the N64, but more specifically, it's a love letter to Banjo-Kazooie. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing of this game, you might actually be pretty excited. Don't. That sounds mean, I don't mean it that way. It's a fun game, it's far from bad, but it's also like an hour long. It has very shallow gameplay and is only $2. Most of your enjoyment of this game will come from already being a Banjo fan, and if you're not, then this game isn't for you, but if it is, honestly, I'm going to be spoiling this game pretty hard, so I would recommend just clicking out of this video and buying it now. Again, it's $2, it's available on the Nintendo Switch and PC, so go ahead. If you don't care about spoilers, then video starts now. The main goal of this game is to collect 6 keys to open up this giant door and stop the bad guy from doing bad things. You get these keys from beating levels, each level rarely lasting more than a few minutes. These levels mostly consist of fetch quests. You need a thing from an NPC, so you trade that thing you got earlier and do a favor or for them or whatever. Some levels do work differently though, like this one is just Kirby 64, another one is a kart racer. Maybe there's some puzzles or challenges thrown in, but like 80% of the time you're doing fetch quests. Not to mention, your only movement options are to move and flap your wings a few times to get some height. I don't want to criticize the game too much here, even if it does lead to some shallow gameplay, because you gotta remember the kind of scope this game has. And this is still probably the closest you can get to the collectathon genre without dramatically increasing the kind of budget the game would need. That being said, the game is super short, so I never got bored or anything. I just wouldn't say I was ever really engaged either. For the most part anyway, there is something that I really enjoy doing, but I'll get into that later. The levels themselves are so tiny that I wouldn't say they're a ton of fun to explore, but they at least have a lot of interesting things going on. One level is basically just Treasure Trove Cove from Banjo-Kazooie, another one is Jungle Japes from Donkey Kong 64, even having a monkey voiced by Grant Kirkhope at the end. There's one based off of Ocarina of Time because it has you finding a sword and shield before going into a dungeon in the forest. There's an 80s Vaporwave level too, and I just really like the look of this one. There's also a kart racer one, but the gameplay is really basic. There's no drifting and there's only 2 items, both of which just make you go faster and are used automatically. I'm not expecting Mario Kart levels of polished gameplay or anything, but this still isn't very good. I think I would have just preferred another normal fetch quest level. Maybe one based off the best N64 game, Majora's Mask. Just a thought. The Kirby 64 level is pretty cool. It locks you into a 2D plane just like the real game, so it definitely feels distinct gameplay wise. It just has you collecting apples on the way and then going back to the beginning at the very end, but it makes sense to keep the goals simple to mimic the original game, so whatever. The visuals also do a nice job replicating what rare N64 games look like. Everything has googly eyes like in the Banjo games, and they even use a ton of stock sound effects like Dinosaur Planet. Okay, that one's probably not intentional. The game in general does a pretty good job looking like an N64 game, except when they use 2D sprites for smaller objects like bushes or candles. There's a pretty obvious white line above them, and that really bothered me. Aside from that, the game just oozes rare, and I think the game overall does a great job looking like the Banjo games. It even mimics Banjo-Kazooie by only having one boss at the very end, except this one's lame. You literally can't die in this game, so if you get crushed or something like that, it just warps you back. I guess it looks kinda cool, but that's about it. It's still a very, very forgettable fight, and honestly, there's a reason I'm not talking about it here, because I barely remember anything about it as I'm speaking. However, those aren't the only levels, because once you beat the main set of levels and the final boss, you get the bonus levels. They're fine. They have even less substance to them than the ones in the main game, but they're a nice bonus, even if the first two are weirdly creepy and out of place, but it ends up on a Metroid level, so that's cool. The only one I really want to talk about is the third one. The level itself isn't that interesting, it's what you get in it. Throughout the game, you can find these golden Kiwi statues. There's 4 of them and they're hidden pretty well. Sorta. The level straight up tells you where they are, and that's kinda dumb. Some of these definitely require some direction, but I would have much preferred hints rather than the game just telling you where they are. Like, what's the point even having these hidden throughout if you're just gonna do that? That aside, the reward you get is really, really cool. You get the ability to fly and go wherever you want. Dude, you don't understand how much I love this. Leaving the game's boundaries and messing around is consistently my favorite thing to do in just about any game. Getting a closer look at things I'm not supposed to see that close up is just really interesting to me, and also I like being an idiot and doing stupid things out of bounds. It's fun. But it's so rare that a game just has something like this built in. At best, a game might have console commands, but it's almost always a thing you have to mod in. But in this game, no, it's just a thing you get, and I love that. Now, I get that, like, having something like this in does break the illusion in the immersion and whatever, because you can see out of bounds and see where the game ends. I don't care, this is fun. And the coolest thing about this is they hid a ton of stuff out of bounds. Almost all the secrets come in the form of these giant Easter eggs floating around that warp you to new places if you touch them. Some take you to places that aren't all that interesting, like outside the bar from the opening cutscene or this hallway with a fixed camera, but others take you to places like this weird Super Nintendo Mode 7 map of the Earth. I don't know what this is about, but I like it. The best one is the one that warps you to a Sonic Adventure-inspired map that, of course, I adore. It takes place in this tiny Station Square area with a knockoff Eggman and Sonic. Oh yeah, this is happening! I'm the fastest fisher alive! I love Sonic Adventure so much that this alone made the game worth it. They even hint at making this its own game, and yes, just yes. There's some other secrets that aren't egg related, like for some reason there's an NPC out of bounds in the area after the final boss. He doesn't say anything special, so I'm wondering if he's even meant to be out of bounds. One of the cooler ones actually doesn't even require flying, it's just a door that opens up when you beat the game. It takes you to the dev's previous game, Kiwi64, and that's so cool! The game itself is alright, it's really short and there's not a ton to do here, and you can tell it was made with a mouse and keyboard controls in mind and not updated in any way to accommodate a controller because it's 8-directional, the camera controls are super sensitive, as if it was made with a mouse in mind, and it even tells you to press E at one point, which is obviously not a button on the Switch controller. Just like the main game, there's a lot of references here, like it has these tales from Conker's Bad Fur Day and this N64 cart that's the true sequel to Kiwi 64, instead of that car game. This game has some opinions. My favorite thing about this game is how easy it is to break out of bounds. I did it in so many ways effortlessly without any prior knowledge, though that might be intentional because, yeah, of course there's secrets out of bounds here too. One of which is oddly disturbing. What are the implications of this? Why is this giant thing just watching? Is that me, the player, or is that God? The devil? Bob? No one's gonna get that. The secrets are absolutely what makes this game for me. Literally over half my playtime was dedicated to just looking for that stuff. It was so much fun to find all of this. And yeah, that was Macbat64. It's a fun game. It's nothing special. I mean, it's $2. You can't expect a lot out of that. The gameplay is very shallow. Most, if not all, of your enjoyment will come from already being a fan of Banjo-Kazooie or other 3D platformers from that era. If you're not, then I don't think this game has much for you. But if you are, then it's $2, go for it. It's a fun distraction. Again, it's only like an hour long. You can probably get more if you spend more time messing around looking for those secrets. But my recording ended up only being about like an hour and 17 minutes, I think, but that's also because I knew where everything was because I played it before. But if you haven't, then it's probably going to be closer to like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. Again, it's $2, can't expect much. Enjoyable game. Yeah, video done. Okay, I should probably say something about my, the fact that I've been gone for like, I think 5 months now. it's not entirely my fault. Mostly my fault, but not entirely my fault. I actually had a video completely done for Christmas, but then my hard drive corrupted and I lost everything, and the video was entirely done. I literally finished rendering it 2 minutes before, and now it's just gone forever. I mean, the script is still there because I write my scripts in Google Drive, so that's not gone. I'll probably remake it for next Christmas, but man, that hurt. Not only did I have to fix my computer after that, it was broken for like a month, it also just killed my motivation completely. Which is why I came back with this very short video, but I will do a longer one next time. I'm doing a Hat in Time next, and I can't see that video being anywhere close to short. In fact, it might actually be my longest. I don't know. I only written maybe like a third of the script. But yeah, I don't know when that's happening, especially because I have to re-record that game because I lost everything. That sucks. But whatever. I mostly got everything back. I really just need to re-record a Hat in Time, and I'm good. Also, I need to re-record Sonic 4 for my Let's Play channel, and I don't want to do that. Anyway, bye.